What do we have? We have Miss Beth Geiser. Did I do that right?
You did.
Okay. I was threatened with an inch of my life earlier. So Miss Beth comes to us from the Louisville Leaders chapter, I guess. So the first, I guess it was the first bike night that she came to. I guess she had already met, like you walked into the bike night and you like already knew Phil, you knew Pork Chop Phil. And then, from high school? Wow. And then I guess you'd already seen Chad. Where's Chad? Where's Chad? Where's Retro Wrench? Wave Chad, he's back there, he's hanging out. And so she shows up and she's on this like, so the bike is like, it's a, I don't even know what it is, but it's the Chickasaki.
No.
You were on the.
No, I showed how much Savage.
No, it was the Savage, but yeah, but the.
But later I got the Kawasaki.
Yeah, but yeah, then you got the Chickasaki. So it was like, it was all I guess it was the showpiece for the first time, and then like the next couple weeks, she showed up and like there was this like rumored Chickasaki.
Oh, sexy.
The what? It was the Chickasaki, and then it was Kawasaki.
I love it. You're making up stuff.
Whatever. But it was like this bike, and I was like, what is this, like, hodgepodge?
Single Suzuki's represent, though.
Yeah, so, yeah, it was this hodgepodge of bike, and, like, Chad was there, and he was sort of building it and tuning it for helping you out. He was helping you out. Chad, you took it to charity.
No.
Whatever.
No, but I love that you're leading people into my story. This is exciting.
I'm totally ruining Beth's story. I totally apologize.
Boo!
But, actually, so... The truth be told, like I met Beth through the first time that I realized like there was a Leaders chapter in Louisville, like that was a new thing. It was an all women's riding group. It was pretty awesome because they started to sort of show up for our bike nights, and we were trying to be supportive and letting saying like please use this as a resource. Like we don't want to exclude anyone. So without screwing this up anymore. Get up here, Beth. Come on, tell us the story.
All right, I also have the old people glasses. So I'm probably arguably maybe the oldest of the speakers we have today, but I'm the baby of the family. I just started riding. This is my first season, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about what it's like to be 51 years old and finish your first season of riding. So it was kind of funny. I guess Rob asked me, he reached out, a couple months ago about doing the storytelling. I'm like, who wants to hear from a middle-aged woman who just started riding motorcycles? And he's like, LOL. I didn't respond. Then Season reached out and she's like, do you want to be a storyteller? And I said, I don't think anybody's really interested in hearing about like my midlife crisis where I got divorced and decided to ride motorcycles instead. And she's like, you're the perfect person. Please come tell your story. So here I am. So I'll take you way back a little bit to 2020. 2020 was, it was a year. And I think we all kind of had that year in 2020 with COVID and everything. But it was, for me personally, COVID hit, lost my job, got another job, lost my mom. And then at the end of that year, I got divorced. So here I was, re-released into the wild. And I decided I'm going to do the things that I've always wanted to do that maybe I wasn't able to do under the constraints of this relationship that I was in for so long. And this is not a slam on my ex. He's a good guy, but he was not keen on motorcycles at all. So that put learning how to ride a motorcycle right at the top. I was pretty much decided that I was going to do this. So in August of 21, I took the MSF course at Blue Geiser Harley Davidson, and that was an experience. So one of 12 in the class, I was one of 3 who had never been on a motorcycle before. Everybody else in there, experienced riders. They were there to get their insurance rates down. I didn't even know that was a thing. And they were beautiful, fluid, proficient riders. I mean, just lovely. And it's me and 2 other people who were brand new riders, and only 1 other female. And so I'm like thinking, I got some solidarity. There's another woman here, and we're gonna bond. Well, we did for a hot minute until she wiped out hard twice, and she was done. She was finished with the class. So, but she stands alone. I'm the last woman standing, literally. But you know, I took the course and I got through it, and I didn't even do all that bad. I got a pretty decent score, and apparently I can weave through cones like it's my job. Never knew I had this skill set, but here we are. So this is in August of 21, and 2 months later, I bought my first motorcycle, a 2001 Suzuki Savage. I got it for $800 on Facebook Marketplace. I promptly spent more than that getting some maintenance done on it, new tires, a bunch of stuff, because I think I may have gotten a little swindled on the Savage, but I love her bad. She's great, you know. So, and it's already kind of the end of the year when I get the bike out of the shop, so I really didn't get to ride it all. And so I stick it in the garage, and then spring happened in 22. So in May of 2022, it's when I kind of like broke the bike out of the garage, and I'm like, I'm gonna ride this motorcycle. And at this point, I should tell you that all of my friends were like, this is crazy. So all my friends that I have, we're all equestrians. I'm a lifelong horse rider. I've been doing this for 4 decades. I'm a good rider. I've been riding competitively. And my friends and I think nothing of getting on these animals, galloping across the field, jumping very large, fixed objects at speed over a 1,200-pound opinionated animal. All of us have a very long list of our injuries, accidents, you know, trips to the emergency room. And we also share like orthopedist recommendations with each other because, you know, it's just a thing with horses that you're going to get hurt. And because we're all just a little batshit crazy, a lot of times we don't even go seek medical attention. We just pirate stuff out of our veterinary bags, and we just like, here's a salve, I got this for my horse, just rub that on, you're gonna be fine. So all of my friends are kind of equally crazy. We love adrenaline, we love to do dangerous things. But when I told them all that I was gonna start riding motorcycles and I had bought this bike, they're like, that's dangerous. You're gonna get killed. And I thought this was really funny coming from this group. And my friend, even at the time, had just fallen off her horse and was looking at having a surgery. She's like, you shouldn't do that. And I would text her and say, I'm going to go ride my bike today. She wouldn't respond. Yeah, so I'm alone. I am alone in my bike riding. And that's fine because I am a strong, independent woman. And, you know, I am not a cougar. I am a cheetah. Sprinting into... I am running headfirst into this midlife crisis. I'm going to own it. So ride I did. So I get my Suzuki out of the garage, and so I started off in the parking lot in the condominiums near where I live. And I would just ride around the parking lot because that's all I felt like I could do right away. And I'm all alone, you know. So I'm thinking, well, this is good because if I wipe out, you know, there's people nearby. They could like call 911 for me or whatever, or help me get the bike back up. And the thing is, I didn't wipe out. I rode around the parking lot and I was doing pretty good. And I ran out of gas one time and they kind of freaked me out. And I was like, oh, you have a reserve tank. You can do this. So, you know, I'd ride around and it was feeling really good. So I knew that I was like, okay, I gotta get out of this parking lot. I've got to figure out where I'm gonna go next. And somewhere along the way, I had decided that I wanted to sort of document this experience for myself. And I wanted to like make some notes, you know, and so I started this journal. And I wanted to write down and remember these early moments of riding. What was going on? Where did I go? How many miles did I ride? What was I thinking? What was I feeling? All of it. I just wanted to kind of cherish those early moments. It's kind of like when you're a parent, and for anybody that has children, you know, your kid takes their first steps. It's a big deal, you know. So you whip out your phone, you're recording it, you put that stuff on Facebook, and you write it down in some baby book somewhere, and you're like, Junior took steps, you know, the first time. And it's such a big deal. And after a while, though, it becomes so ordinary that we're all walking around. I haven't remembered anybody congratulating me on being able to walk for a long time, you know, but because we've been doing it forever. And it's not until you look into these journals or you look at a baby book and you look backwards and you say, at one time, that was a big deal. You know, I took my first baby steps. I rode that motorcycle out of the garage, up the hill, and around a parking lot. I did that. And I had kind of this foresight, like I wanted to relish the moments when I moved past the mundane. And it was just, you know, it was no big deal anymore. But when you're a new rider, everything's a real big damn deal. Going to the gas station was a big deal for me. What if I drop the bike? What if I spill gas everywhere? You know, what if I do it wrong? I was so worried about it. So I started kind of journaling and making notes of my experiences. And I would also plan my rides out. I'd get on Google Maps and I'd figure out, like, where can I go? Because if I go a little bit west of where I live, I'm going to be in traffic, and there's no fucking way I'm doing that. I'm too scared to ride in traffic. And east of me, I live out in the East End, kind of near Norton Commons, and so what I have access to is 1694, otherwise known as Sleepy Hollow Road, or 22, or a bunch of traffic. So I got on Google Maps, and I found at the end of 1694, at least at the stretch of road I wanted to be on, was Schuler Lane. It's this nice little country area, and it's sort of circular. You can ride around it. And so I would psych myself up to get on the bike. You know, I'm like, okay, you're gonna do it. Today's the day. You're gonna get down to Schuler Lane. And so I did. You know, I got on and I rode down 1694, and I got to Schuler Lane, and I rode around this little neighborhood. And I was like, oh my God, this is so great. You know, I'm riding, I'm doing it. And I kind of felt like that scene in What About Bob, when Bill Murray's character is strapped to the front of the sailboat, and he's like, I'm failing. Like, I'm doing it, I'm riding. The posted speed limit was 25 miles an hour, and I don't think I went above that. You know, I was like, I'm in third gear. Yeah, it was a big deal. You know, I was so proud of me, but I was doing it. So, let's see, I've got my notes here. Yeah, so after Schuler Lane, you know, I was doing that like maybe a couple times a week after work. Whenever it was nice, I'd get out and I'd go ride down 1694 and get on Schuler Lane, ride around this little neighborhood. And I'm sure these people were like, what's this lady doing? You know, riding this bike around. But my next option for stretching my own growth and learning was I gotta get a little further away. So I was like, well, Sleepy Hollow Road it is. And I don't know how many people are familiar with this road, but it's just like a 2-lane road, and it's like got no guardrails, and you can fall to your death to Harrod's Creek. So it's perfect, right? It's often wet and the pavement's shit. So, you know, it was a perfect place for me to start really cutting my baby teeth here. And so I did. So one day I just psyched myself up, and I thought, fuck, what if someone comes up behind me? You know, like, I didn't want to feel the pressure of any cars behind me. And then a friend was like, you can just pull over and let them pass. Okay, so I did. So sure enough, I'm riding down 1694, and some, you know, soccer mom in a Honda Odyssey is riding my tail. And I was like, oh dear God. And I hear this little voice, just pull over and let them pass. So I did, and I got down to the end of 1694. And I'm at Coverbridge Road now. And I'm like, this is awesome. So there's another leg of 1694 that goes up to US 42. And I decided I'm gonna ride that one too. So I kept going. And I rode a little bit further. And I rode all the way down to 42. And then I found another little road, and then I came home. And I was utterly exhausted. And so I had made some notes, you know, in my notebook about this ride and, you know, the things I was doing. And one of the notes was like, I'm seriously tired after this one. Because this was a lot of riding for me as a new rider. And so from there, I just kind of kept stretching out. And I would go a little bit further, and I'd get on Google Maps and maybe look for some roads I wanted to ride to. And I was sticking to some crazy, sketchy roads. I don't know what I was thinking. I was out on Hallsville Road, which is just god-awful. And you can't really tell when cars are coming. But, you know, I'd go do these little rides, and I'd get kind of lost and go to the gas station. This is a big adventure for me, to go to the gas station and get gas and just do shit, you know? I just went all these little places. But I would make little notes to myself. I would record my mileage down. And one of the places I started going was out to the Westport boat ramp, like out to Westport. So some people might be familiar with that one. So for me, that was up 2 legs of 1694 and out 42 to 524. And so the first day, I decided to go down to the boat ramp. And it was great, except, so I guess there was some incident on I-71 and all the semis were diverted off of 71 and they were all coming down US 42. So I'm on the Savage, a little 650, no windscreen, a new rider, and there are semi trucks westbound rocking my world. I'm like, what was I thinking? You know, I was so nervous about it, I was so worried, but it was fine. You know, I got through it, and it was thrilling. And so then I continued. I got off the bike at that West Fork, just kind of walked around a little bit, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? This is amazing. And I continued on, then I got back on the bike, rode the other leg of 524 to the east point on 42, kind of close to Sligo, and then I rode home. And so, you know, some little notes I made for myself were, I hit new speeds. So I was probably going like 60 miles an hour down US 42. I'm feeling really good about this, and I'm practically getting shaken off the bike, but I am loving it, you know? And I'm making these little notes for myself. I felt more comfortable in the turns. And, oh my gosh. So, on a similar route, I had also written, speed feels good. And I wrote, faster, faster, until the thrill of speed overcomes the fear of death. And this is from Hunter S. Thompson, right? And I wrote, I can do anything. You know, if you're not your own cheerleader, who is? You know, you have to, like, be your own cheerleader and hype yourself up sometimes. So I wrote, I love this bike. And so every time I'd get off the bike, I was like, this is the best money I have ever spent. And for a while, it was like that. I would take these little rides, I'd go out, and every time I get off the bike, or I'd write little notes to myself, I can do anything. And I love this bike. This is the best money I've ever spent. So I continued to take these little rides around. I got connected then with the Lilitas. And so Phil Millwood is an old friend. He is someone that I knew in high school. I think it was college, and he's like, girl, we're way old. It goes way back. And he had invited me to come up to the Bear Bar for bike night. And I was really touched by that outreach and his being so welcoming and inviting me to come up there. And in the interim, I guess, is when I met Sheena. So Sheena had invited me to come out and join her for kind of like a little gathering of bike night that she was hosting. And we had never met, but we had connected through the little Lolitas. And so I rode out that night to hang out with her and some other people at the Foxstone. And so I have notes on that one too, right? Because this is like the first time I'm going to bike night. I'm so excited. You know, I'm going to make friends. This is great. And so I did. So I'm on my way to Foxstone, and it starts raining. I mean, pouring down rain. This is my first time riding in the rain, first time on this bike night. I'm thinking, oh God, I'm getting soaked, you know? And it's cool, and it stops raining, I get there. And so I met Sheena, and we had just had this like instant like friendship, and it was so cool, and she's just the greatest. And that sense of community is so awesome, you know? I mean, community and connection. It's incredible, and I'm finding that more and more as I'm getting into this biking experience. It's like all these people who are so welcoming. And so I came home from, you know, my bike night, and I made these notes for myself, and oh my gosh. So I had written, sorry, I've lost it now, but anyway, but I had just noted that I'd made a new friend, and that was really, really important to me. And that I also rode home in the dark. First time. I get rained on, I got a new friend in biking, and I rode home in the dark. And I was like, oh my God, you know. But again, I had written these notes to myself, and I'm like, look at what I did. I can do anything. This is great. I love this bike. And so I continued to have these experiences. I went out one day just all by myself and decided that I'm going to ride all the way out to Lexington to the horse country. I wanted to like go ride all these really cool rides and around and where all the horse barns are and the horse farms and ride out Old Frankfurt Pike. So I did. I took myself out on this like 100-mile bike ride and rode all around, and it was so great. I went to Wallace Station, had lunch, and just did this great ride. And I came back and I wrote in my little book here and all about the horse farms along the iconic roadway. And I wrote, my butt is numb and my right hand is tingling. And I can't wait to do it again. I rode 136 miles by myself that day, just all around on the Savage and having just the best time. And I was just like physically tore up from this. And I'm like, I can't wait to do it again. You know, how amazing is this? So I continued on these little rides, and then so she and I got to know each other, and so I had been just kind of like trying to figure out some fun things to go do, and so I was like, Sheena, do you want to go to Rabbit Hash? Apparently it's this place that all the bikers go to, and they have a dog for the mayor. I think we should go. And so she's like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's go. Oh, by the way, I've never ridden with anybody before. She's like, okay, no problem. My husband's going to come with us. I'm like, great, this is awesome. So my first group riding out to Rabbit Hash, and I go over to Sean and Sheena's house, and they're just great. And here is this new friend, and she's mentoring me and really taking me under her wing, and they put like, oh, do you need a little extra gas in your bike? I'm like, probably. I probably do. I don't have a gas gauge, and I'm probably gonna run out. So, they helped me get the gas in. We all ride out to Rabbit Hash, and we had this great day. Like, it was really, really fun, and there's bikes everywhere. It's just like a whole bike show, and I'm just like, God, this is the best thing ever. And then they're like, well, let's go to Madison. Oh, I'd love to go to Madison. So we rolled over to Madison, and we had dinner, and a friend joined us, and then they took off and went home. So I was like, okay, I'll stay for a little while. I rode home from Madison in the dark by myself. It was a huge milestone for me, right? And I know it's kind of funny because you think, oh God, this isn't a big deal. But at the time, it was a really big deal for me. At that point in my motorcycle journey, I had started in mid-May, and this is early August now, August 13th, and I had ridden 1,000 miles. And I noted that on our trip, that for me, that 200 miles that we rode that day, I rolled over personally 1,000 miles into biking. I'm like, wow, I hit these milestones. This is awesome. So, from there, it just kind of kept rolling a little bit. I was really committed to making sure I was like getting on the bike as often as I could. I also came to the realization that I needed another one of these because, like potato chips, you can't have just one. And I want another motorcycle, right? I'm like, I love the Savage, and she's great, but I want a bigger bike because I want to like start really taking some trips and going places. I have goals, I'm not going to approach this thing just kind of leisurely. I'm gonna make this work. And so I bought another motorcycle on Facebook Marketplace. So this is when I picked up the Kawasaki, not Chica, whatever. It's Kawasaki.
The Kawasaki.
I found. But I like bring it to you too. So the Kawasaki was down in Tennessee. This cool guy named Brandon owned it, and I got it for $2,000, less than 10,000 miles on it. It's a Kawasaki Vulcan 900. And I got a trailer, drove down and picked it up, and promptly dropped it off at the shop. Got some things done on it, and it's a bigger bike. It's bigger than what I'm used to riding. So I feel like I'm back in my baby steps again. I'm like, well, I guess I'll just ride around the parking lot. Get used to the new bike. No, I just took off and started riding. It was great, so I did. I don't even remember really some of the first rides on the Kawasaki, but I was ready to go. And from there, it kind of started steamrolling for me a little bit. Like I was so encouraged, and I had found these people who were encouraging me, and I'm encouraging myself. Right, I'm writing in my little book all the time. Like I rode 70 miles today. It was awesome. I can do anything. And so, fueled up on this, I was like, hey Sheena, do you want to go to Tennessee and North Carolina? We could like ride the Cherhaw Skyway and Tail of the Dragon. What do you think? I found a great motocamping lodge. Sheena's like, okay, yeah, let's go. So we packed our stuff and we went. And it was my first real long time riding on the highway. I had been taking myself out and practicing on the highway a little bit. I would like kind of ride out to Carrollton and then come back on 71. So if you can get down 71 and survive, really, you're good for anything. It's a mess, So so we took off and we went to North Carolina and Tennessee, and we stayed at this killer little lodge called Smitty's, and we there was a whole community of people there that were out kind of having their adventures. And so we did. We got up the next morning, found this great little coffee shop, and we rode the Cherahawla Skyway. I'm a newbie. I have laid down maybe 1,200 miles at this point, and I'm out riding the Cherahawla Skyway. And it was good, you know? I mean, Sheena would kind of go out in front because she's obviously a really experienced rider, and so I would catch up to her at some of the overlooks, and we would just hang out. Everybody's pulled over, and they're all enjoying the views and just hanging out and talking, and it was just this great sense of, you know, celebration and community. And then we rolled over and we rode the Tail of the Dragon on a Tuesday, late in the day, not a lot of traffic. And so I rode up the Tail of the Dragon, and I had this blissful experience of riding the Tail of the Dragon. Nobody came behind me. I kind of had the whole road to myself. It just worked out that way, and I'm so glad because I just got to ride it, and it was really, really fun. And so we did that, and then we kicked over to Maggie Valley, and it was a long day of riding. I think we rode about, and then we kind of went home, I guess, the next day, and it was about 400 miles of riding that day. And I just continued to challenge myself. And I think then it was maybe a couple weeks later, I said, "Hey, Sheena, do you want to go moto camping?" So she's like, "Yeah, let's go moto camping." Okay, I found a great campground. This is always how these stories go. You know, so I found this campground, and we loaded up our bikes, and we met up at the coffee shop, and we rode out, and we went moto camping in Red River Gorge, and we had a great time riding all around. And at this point, I guess, you know, I had been riding as much as I could in between, and I think I was getting close to like around 3,000, 4,000 miles now that I've logged. And I continued to, you know, I was kind of going down to bike night and stuff like that, and at Barrett Bar, and, you know, just kind of meeting people and finding this sense of community. And it's just so powerful, and I really appreciate every single person who encouraged me in this journey. You know, because it's like the bike is what it is. I like my bikes, and they're great, and I'm definitely gonna get more. But the experience and the bikes are just kind of this catalyst for having these shared experiences with other people. You know, that's what it's really all about. It's a way to get adventure in your life and have new experiences and have growth and learning. And it's just, to me, it's just been really, really powerful this first season. So I guess I wrapped my season. I had ridden all total by the end of the season, and I'm saying end of the season was, for me, was like mid-November. I clocked about 5,000 miles total for my first year riding, which I thought was pretty good, you know. I was really fortunate enough to like take some great group rides with some people. The Litas, we did some rides together. Richie invited me out with the Moto Monday crew for Sunday Fun Day, and that was awesome. Oh my God. So you guys, I mean, it was like, we had such a great, beautiful fall, and it was just one of those days, like everything was just so great, you know. We had this nice group of people, and you know, we're riding along, except for like we turned around like 7 million times in some gravel parking lots. I don't know what that was about. But, you know, we rode down the Mammoth Cave, and everybody in that group was just so awesome. It was so nice to get to know everybody, and we had lunch, and, you know, I felt like I had just met like 12 new friends that day. And then from there, a guy that was riding out with us that day, Andre, he was putting together a ride out to Rabbit Hash a few weeks later. And I was like, I am in. So I rode out with him and Bird and TJ, and we all went out to Rabbit Hash and had a great time as well. And, you know, so it's just been really like such a gift to have everybody in my life that's encouraging me in this experience. It's just been so cool. And, you know, I look back and I write my little notes in my journal to myself, you know, I can do anything. And I love this bike. You know, every time I get off the bike, I just think, God, this is the best money I've ever spent. This is the best thing I've done for myself. And it's just funny because I feel like, well, you know, I started off alone in a parking lot. And I kind of ended my season, I mean, still in a parking lot at the Barrett Bar, but I am not alone anymore. You know? So anyway, that is my story of my first season. It's been really, really cool, and thanks to everybody who supported me. It's nice to look back and think to myself, I can do anything.